What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Pros and Cons, and this one is for the game yesterday afternoon, 12:30 kickoff, Man United versus Fulham at Craven Cottage. We was desperate for a win, and that is exactly what we got, thanks to Bruno Fernandes. So let's take a closer look at the positives and the negatives coming out of that game. Thank God we've got some positives to talk about, because the last two, you was fucking scraping the barrel. So let's dive into it. VAR had another stinker. So yesterday, in a tight game, in the 11th minute, I believe it was, Scott McTominay scores. We score from a set piece, which everyone's like, what the fuck's going on here? Must have been too good to be true. Christian Eriksen puts the ball in. Garnacho is at the back post, squares it back across to Scott McTominay, and we score, thinking we're 1-0 up. But there is always that little bit of doubt in there when we score nowadays, especially this season. It's, VAR are going to get involved, even though nothing was obvious there to see. Even me and my mates at the time was like, something's gonna fuck up, basically. It's VAR, they're gonna have a look at something. So you start seeing these recordings on the screen of the set piece to check in the line to see if people are onside. Garnacho's definitely onside. Maguire in front of him is definitely onside. So it's like, so where is the clear and obvious error here? What are we looking at? Because no one could spot it. And then they start talking about Maguire impeding play. So it's like, right, okay, so you don't see him. I thought it might have been a situation where, like, it wasn't a Manchester derby where Højlund, kind of dragged him down a little bit. I thought it might have been something like that, so Garnacho could get to the ball, but he doesn't touch anyone, doesn't foul anyone. He's just going for the ball like a few other people are. Maguire doesn't actually touch it at all. And then Garnacho gets on the end. Garnacho's just behind him. Garnacho gets on the end of it, squares it across, we score. But apparently, Harry Maguire was impeding play. So they advise the on-field referee to go have a look at it on the screen. He goes over, has a look, and disallows the goal. So you're like, what the fuck is going on here? What are we doing? What is happening to this game? Like, it's just being fucking completely destroyed. And I'm not even moaning about United decisions. All the decisions yesterday were horrendous, mate. That one in the Newcastle game was fucking just so fucking stupid, and it honestly has ruined the game. The list of decisions that have gone against us, Alice Talks Footy, we've had on the show before, put something out today on Twitter as to how many decisions have gone against us and how many decisions have gone in favour of other teams, etc. And we was bottom of the list with -5 decisions going against us, and a lot of them were very questionable decisions. You look at the Romero handball in the Spurs game, clear. Decisions like that after that game had been given multiple times. The Garnacho offside in the Arsenal game, what the fuck was going on with the lines there? The Manchester City penalty for Højlund, them fouls happen all the time, but that seemed to, get given against us. Højlund's goal against Brighton was apparently over the line. That was clear and obvious, but then the one for Newcastle yesterday wasn't. And then when you look at the decision that was given last night, you're like, what are we doing here? What's the fucking point of this VAR? It almost feels like it's making it worse, if that was even possible. So, yeah, they had another stinker yesterday. Antony needs to be dropped. I think Antony's starting to annoy a lot of fans at the moment, including myself. He offers nothing other than hard work off the ball and maybe maintaining that shape for your front four. But apart from that, he isn't direct. He can't beat a man. He doesn't provide his striker. He hasn't got a single goal or an assist for us yet in any competition. If you look at what Doku's doing at Manchester City, and I always refer to him, but you talk about good scouting and having someone above you. Pep referenced this in one of his interviews recently. Tiki, I can't remember his second name, the guy above him, the sporting director, spotted Doku and brought him in because he needed a winger who was talented. And you look at what Doku's doing for City now, that's kind of what we expected from Antony. Beat a man, get into the box, score a good goal. And he just hasn't, he's shown bits of it last season, but this season he's been just so average. Well, not even average, he's been poor, for being completely transparent. And I think now is the right time to bring someone like a Pelistrian, who I will touch on later, because he looked much better and had a bigger impact when he came on. And if the manager keeps continuing to play Antony in this team, that will be the hill that he dies on, because a lot of fans are asking for change now. So I'm hoping he takes him out the firing line and starts giving Ahmad and Pellistri and guys like this a chance. But if he keeps playing them, I can't defend Erik ten Hag, I'm sorry. Another KJ performance. I get it's away from home. I get it's going to be difficult. You've got injuries. All these kind of things definitely have an impact on the game. But we keep winning ugly. When we actually do get a win, which is very rare nowadays, it isn't very convincing. Our midfield struggles to get hold of games. Our defence can be flaky in moments, in certain opportunities, and our attackers simply do not score or even provide enough chances for Højlund to score. There was moments where Willian had us on toast, mate. As soon as he got the ball in a certain area, he was just killing us. And if they had a clinical striker, they would have scored, and that result wouldn't have been the way it was last night. It's just because they haven't really brought in Raul Jimenez for Mitrovic, and it hasn't really worked out. So they're waiting for someone to step up. They haven't scored a lot of goals this season, Fulham, and that's where they are in the position in the table. So it's not kidding me. We won, but it was very, very cagey. Attackers need to step up. So out of 16 games this season, in only 4 games has any of our attackers scored. Anthony's failed to notch a single goal or assist, which I mentioned before. In 11 games, Rashford has had 1 goal and 3 assists in 14 games, and Højlund has got 3 in 13. But like I said, he's young, he's developing into the team, he's getting used to the teammates around him, and the actual players that are around him, well, the wingers specifically, do not provide chances for him. And these are huge issues. We don't score enough, we don't create enough, we certainly don't keep clean sheets in most games. So we almost need to outscore teams, and that is never happening with the statistics that we've got at the moment. If we are to have any success at all, we need to start scoring, taking our chances, and providing, more importantly, for the striker. Christian Eriksen does not work as a 6. The midfield was stagnant. It's been a huge issue all season, and I think that issue only increases with Casemiro now being out till January and February. We brought in Amrabat for a specific role, for cover for Casemiro mainly, and to work alongside players like Christian Eriksen and stuff. He didn't start yesterday, which was bizarre. We brought in Mason Mount as a signing. Didn't start yesterday, which was bizarre again. So he went with the trusted players in Bruno, McTominay and Eriksen. And yes, we won the game, and people will argue that, but we can't keep playing Christian Eriksen as a 6. He may work against certain teams, but we've seen this script before. We've seen the evidence before. He's not great there. Off the ball, his defensive capability is shocking. There was literally one moment in the game where a player just literally, I think it was Iwobi, and you get someone athletic like Iwobi just skips past him, and Eriksen's trying to keep up with him. Like, it's just not fit for that role. Yes, he brings football, and he can break the lines, and he's got that intelligence, and that's fine. That's perfect. I get why he plays in there, but it was a risky move from Erik ten Hag last night, and it literally only just paid off. But yeah, you can't keep playing that, especially in the big games. Right, let's end with the positives then. Finally, we can talk about some fucking positives. Amazing. And again, Barry Maguire, solid. I thought Barry was top again yesterday. He was definitely in the wars, banging his head. You know, he looked a little bit dizzy at one point. I was saying, like, you need to take this guy off because he doesn't look. You only see him a little bit out of it. He needs to come off, but for whatever reason, they decided to keep him on. I'm not saying that's great, but he then went on to perform and had actually a really good 90 minutes. He was great on the ball, won his duels, 9 clearances, 2 block shots, 8 out of 10 aerial duels, 2 out of 3 ground duels, and 6 out of 12 long balls. He's putting in decent performances week in, week out at the moment. And I don't know what's going on with Varane. I'm not sure what the situation is between Erik ten Hag and Maguire, but there is clearly something going on there. And he stepped up with, you know, the abuse that he's had for years and years, being an outcast in the team. You knew he was trying to be sold to West Ham, and he's just put all that aside, and he's put a performance in. He's not complained, and fair play to him. Fair play to you, Barry. Pelistri and Mount subs made us better. I mentioned before that Anthony should be dropped, and that was purely because of the impact these 2 subs had when they came on. Pelistri, more than Mount, I thought looked hungry, was more direct, got an assist for the Bruno goal, which was fantastic, showed his dogged work. And again, I'm going to go do a stats comparison here. Anthony played for 63 minutes, 44 touches, 0 out of 2 long balls, 1 out of 4 successful dribble attempts, 3 out of 10 ground duels, and possession lost 10 times. Very underwhelming. Pelistri stats, 27 minutes, 1 assist, 15 touches, 1 key pass, and 1 shot on target. Obviously, instantly better. I said before, Anthony cannot start the next game. If he does, that's on the manager. I can't defend him. Start playing Pelistri, or when Ahmad gets back, give him an opportunity, because these lads have earned it. Garnacho needs to start a run of games. Very similar to what I was saying about Pelistri. The young lads, very young, talented lads. But I do think Garnacho needs a run of games now in his team. Don't just keep starting him cold. Give him 3 or 4 games to show what he can do. I believe his off-the-work ball is much better than Marcus Rashford. He can be more direct and make more clear decisions than Marcus Rashford, but also he is still raw as well. You see in certain situations, he tried that back heel yesterday, didn't quite come off, loses the ball. You know, if he was clinical, could have killed us on the counter-attack. These things happen when you're young. It's a learning curve, but you won't learn unless you get game time, and I believe he deserves it. He had 5 out of 11 ground duels yesterday and 3 out of 5 aerial duels, which is what I like to see from a winger as well. Marcus Rashford gets criticised for walking back sometimes and looking disinterested, and Garnacho showed the complete opposite of that. Should have had an assist as well, for being completely honest. That goal shouldn't have been ruled out, so he should have an assist to add to his chart. So, yeah, I like Marcus, but he's had his opportunity now. If you're old enough, you're good enough, and them two wingers I mentioned definitely need more game time. Bruno hits back at critics after questions about him, about being the captain surfacing in the media and amongst fans, and questions about his game and stuff. We're asking for the captain to step up in big moments. Yesterday was a vitally important game to get 3 points onto the table. Who pops up in the 91st minute with a winner in a very tight game? Bruno Fernandes with a great finish as well. The overall performance wasn't amazing. I'm not, sitting here saying he played like Kevin De Bruyne, but some of the annoying things about Bruno Fernandes is his attitude and his petulance and over-emotional, not turning up in big games. These kind of things get thrown at him, and they're still there for me. But you can never say that Bruno Fernandes does not give his all. You really can't. And maybe that's, sometimes he overdoes it, but he always gives 100%, and he always asks for everyone else around him for 100%. So that, obviously, I'm a huge fan of. You know where his heart is. He loves Manchester United. He was never down tools, and you can't say that for a lot of players that are around him. I still don't personally believe he should be the captain at the moment, but at the same time, there aren't glaring, obvious ones that you can give it to. So I understand why you want to create this kind of media storm or circus around that situation. Just, keep him captain for now, maybe assess it in 6 months' time and see where we're at. So the conclusion then, after 2 awful performances against Manchester City and Newcastle, we needed to bounce back, and going away from home is never easy. You saw the fight, you saw the togetherness, you saw the spirit, and I hate using them words because they're so cliche, but it was definitely there, and you can only take the results, and you can only play the people that are in front of you. We got to win. That's the main important thing now. I think we're only 6 points behind Arsenal, which is fucking mental because we've had a disastrous season. But yeah, maybe that win might spark something. We've questioned this before. Have we turned the corner? Have we done this? You don't really know, do you, until the next game. We've got Copenhagen in the Champions League, and that's vitally important. So I'm hoping we see a similar performance away from home. Well, a better performance, but if we get the same result, then you won't complain, will you? You'll be happy. So hopefully we can do that. I mentioned at the start of the video, I had a bet on the game yesterday, and my bet was 14-1, and it was Bruno Fernandes to score from outside of the box. And of course, Bruno scored yesterday, and of course, it was a relatively long-range effort. But let me show you the image here now. This is how close it was to the line, to being outside the box. Fucking unbelievable. Unbelievable. I was sat there, I was like, oh, I can't, 100 quid there, whatever it would have been. And it was like that much past the line. I was like, fuck's sake. But I was still obviously happy that United got the win. So, yeah, you win some, you lose some. So don't bet. Only bet when you've, Anyway, let us know your thoughts on the game yesterday. Positives, negatives, if I've missed any at all. Who you would start for the next game. And do you think United can turn this corner after that win against Fulham? Make sure to leave a like on the video for us. Subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next one.